There we go. Hey, folks, this is True American Podcast. Coach Corbin here with you. As you guys know, I do a lot of political and cultural stuff, and many of you know of my obvious political biases. But I experienced something that really motivated me to say I got to bring this person on the show. I got to give her an opportunity to be heard. And just to give a quick background, guys and gals, I was perusing the Facebook, saw this forum being hosted by Devon Holt. I think it's down there, Portland Memorial Church. Mario candidate. And of course, Greenberg was there and the other Republican Party candidate was there. Then I noticed three people there I never heard of, never seen them before. They're independent candidates. Well, let me just make this a real quick story. Then I heard the Louisville Forum was going to do a candidates forum. And I said to myself, now I'm going to go down there. I got to make this because I want to hear what these folks have to say. Come find out, the three people I had seen at the forum hosted by Devon Holt were not they were not scheduled to appear at the Louisville Forum. And then I started hearing other people saying, hey, no major media folk are covering the campaigns of the independent folk. So, and I had an issue with that. Again, everybody knows my obvious political bias, but there's one principle I stand on. Hey, if you are legally registered to run and your name's on the ballot, you should be heard. Period. You should be heard. You just should be heard. So I'm going to use my platform to let one of those voices be heard. Now, I have with me Martina Nichols. Sister, pronounce your last name for you.
Kunnecke.
Kunnecke. Okay.
I answer to anything, though.
Okay. And she's an independent candidate for the office of mayor. And as I said before, we really need to hear what she has to say. I'm not asking you to agree with her or disagree with you, but I am asking you to listen, and if possible, share this podcast interview with other folk. We need to hear all the voices in this campaign, including Sister Martina's voice. Sister, thank you so much for being on here.
Well, thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Severs. I really appreciate it.
Now, let me ask you something real quick here. Why in the world do you want to be the mayor of Louisville?
Well, Mr. Severs, folks have asked me for years to run because I've been involved with neighborhood politics since 2003. And from 2014 onward, I became president of the organization that first got me involved, Neighborhood Planning and Preservation. So I know the neighborhoods all over the city. I know the suburban, the urban, the rural areas. And I've worked on a lot of topics regarding land use, governmental transparency, the gamut. But I've always said no to running for office because I like to be on, it's not that I'm not political, but I'm political from the community's point of view. And so this year there was a group of folks I'm working with. It's the Citizens Coalition for Land Use Reform. And they said, you need to be running because we were looking at the candidates that seemed to be the front runners as early as last November. So that shows you how long they've been sort of put before us as the candidates. Right. And to me, we were just going down the same old path of leadership by an elite few in this community. And I'm not saying they should not be at the table, but they've been running the table. And they've been running us. They've been using our public funds, our public properties to do what they want to do. And so I finally decided no one's going to be able to come from the perspective that I have, which is actual experience in the community. So that's why.
And you say your experience dates back, and I get this number right, 20 years.
Yeah, I've been at it in this line of work, and it's not work, it's all volunteer. So MPP is a network of community advocates, east, west, south, that come together in some way, be it letter writing campaigns, calling Metro Council, or whatever, to work on. So yeah, MPP was started by a group of community activists years ago. Jim Sechrist, who used to be known as the mayor of Butchertown, was my predecessor. And so at that time, they pulled together in response to some development that folks in the Clifton neighborhood was objecting to. They pulled together folks from Jefferson County Forest area, from Outriver Road. It was a diverse group of people that racially, economic-wise, neighborhood-wise, that came together and said, only we can speak best for ourselves.
Mm-hmm. And you have experience not just with one part of Louisville. I mean, you really greater Louisville, period,
Right.
across the board.
Right. And even in southern Indiana, one of the earliest battles that MPP helped pull together was opposing the downtown bridge and the tolls. And so that involved pulling together a group that was called Stop the Tolls, 8664, Mr. Steve Weiser, who had an alternative plan. And one of the things we did was we went up into southern Indiana. We wanted all those counties along the river to say, no more tolls. What are you talking about? And if people knew the story behind the tolls and how we're going to be indebted as a community for a long, long time. But at any rate, one of the challenges was to get Jeffersonville to sign on, to get their council to sign on to oppose the tolls. That's all we were asking, because people had different opinions about the bridges. And they just would not, we went to that meeting and they would just not even let it be brought up. And so after that meeting, I said to one of my colleagues, I said, we need to go to the Tea Party, because the Tea Party is not going to be happy about these tolls. It's a form of taxation. And they were, they're on my side of the political spectrum, but there was that gut reaction of, we cannot talk to anybody from the Tea Party. Oh my God. And so, and little did they know, I'd already been talking to the Tea Party about other topics. They're totally opposite me politically on many things, but I knew that they agreed about this. So we did go to a meeting, and the young man that went with me spoke. He was allowed to speak. They were gracious enough to allow us to speak. And he was the only one that night that got a standing ovation. So the next time we went to Jeffersonville to say, please endorse our statement on the tolls, guess who showed up? Tea Party. And they showed up en masse. They filled that room. And we were able to get that resolution passed that night. So we lost the big battle, but that's an example of a small battle that was significant in my eyes.
So you're a bridge builder.
I guess I am. Some people would say I'm very controversial, but I don't lock people out because they don't agree with me on every single thing.
Right.
And that's what, going back to the Louisville Forum, that is what the powers that be cultivate. They cultivate those divisions, and they want us to be separate. And then they also want to spoon feed us who should be our leaders. And that's what's happening there, really, that they just don't want the community to know. I mean, as you say, why don't we know about these other people? And It's not just me. There's I guess about 6 others that they're just totally writing off.
I mean, and forgive the wording, it's a blackout. I mean, they blacked you guys out.
Yes.
And so if I don't see you, if I don't hear you, if I don't know, then I don't know you exist, really.
Yes.
And so that's what really upset me, be honest with you. I was like, hold up, these people have something to say. And you're on the ballot, is that correct?
I'm on the ballot. And in fact, in some of our campaign literature, we reflect a picture of the ballot, and I circle my name so folks will know they have to go down a name or two. But I'm absolutely on the ballot for November.
So obviously, it's not like you just some nut out there trying in the wilderness or something.
Well, some people would disagree with you about my being a nut, but
okay. All right.
Yeah, but I do think I have something to offer, and I think the other candidates do too. It's just really, and the thing about the Louisville Forum is they advertise themselves as being nonpartisan. But the fact that they don't even recognize that there are other candidates out there is just pretty much, it's an elitist comment. It's an
Yes.
elitist commentary on what they feel the other candidates have to offer. And then what they feel the public has a right to know about. To me, it's just arrogant and
Yes.
condescending.
I couldn't agree with you more. I couldn't agree with you more. Let's change the subject a little bit
Okay.
here. What what are at least two issues you as mayor want addressed?
At least two. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work to be done. I feel like we're at a crossroads in this community and at a crisis point, actually. And I think the underlying force behind that is that we've had stagnant leadership for a long time, because the leadership has pretty much been handed to us on a silver platter by an elite few in this community that have great economic power and political power. And so one of the things I really want to get the ball rolling on, because I don't see myself serving more than one term. I may change my mind, but in this one term, I want to cause a cultural shift, or start a cultural shift towards truly democratic processes,
Hmm.
and to get rid of the cronyism that's driving our community and stealing our tax dollars, actually.
Hmm.
So one of the things I'm looking at is starting the move towards revisiting term limits.
Wow.
I don't believe a mayor should have 12 years. I mean, that's like a monarchy almost, that
Hmm.
you have a mayor in power for 12 years. If 4 years is good enough for the president of the United States, two 4-year terms, I think that's good enough for our mayor. I also
Wow.
think that's good enough for Metro Council. And what that does is
Whoa.
it breaks down the bridge to, because it would be awfully difficult to resist if someone comes to you and says, hey, I'll get you this job, or I'll get you this contract, or I'll give you a little kickback. It would be hard to resist that,
Mhm.
because they don't get paid that much. Metro Council does, and so I think if you churn it up, not only does it kind of weaken the possibility of cronyism, it
Mhm.
also entices other people to get involved in the process. We shouldn't have a government that's run by businessmen and attorneys. I'm not saying businessmen and attorneys don't need to be at the table, but there needs to be diversity around that table. So
Right.
one of the things I do want to work on is looking at term limits. I want to also
Hold on. Hold that thought. Let me just make this comment real quick. After that, I can see why they don't want you up there. I can see why they don't want you heard. I get that was enough right there. That was enough right there. I was tempted to pick up the phone and go to email and say, hey guys, we may need to change our minds on this one. We may need to talk to Sister Martina, because that was serious proposition right there. That was serious. All right, go ahead. Give me your second thought.
My second thought is, and it's just difficult to choose, but I do want to get some kind of accountability. I'm a researcher by profession, okay? And then I
Mhm.
also have a background, did some graduate work in systems. And so I want to look at how our money has been spent to date, what has been the outcome, and then look at funding patterns in a different way. So, what do I like to call these? There's a group of organizations that are always there as gatekeepers to those funds. They decide, they get first dibs on the funds, and then they divvy it out to their little network. And I think it's time to look at these organizations and the funding and the promises they made, and then let's look at some real data. Not only those that are funded, but then also some of these developers, they've promised affordable housing, they've promised these, all these things. With the record number of construction that has occurred in the last 12 years, why do we have people sleeping under the underpasses? Why do we have people working at McDonald's and sleeping in their cars at night? Why do we have more people than ever that are, couch surfing, they are sofa searching, at
Mhm.
relatives and friends. So I want to do a forensic analysis. It's going to be actually a range of forensic analyses on how we have spent the people's money and come up with ways to spend it better.
Wow. Folks, this is the True American podcast. Coach Corbin here. I'm sitting here speaking with Sister Martina. She is the one of the independent candidates running for the position of mayor of Louisville. I'm a little overwhelmed at all that she said, and I'm telling you, folks, it's almost criminal. It's borderline criminal that she's not been on these major forums, WLKY, Louisville Forum, Courier Journal, whatever it might be. She and these other independent candidates need to be there. And I think she's just shown us why she needs to be heard and why you guys need to give serious thought and consideration to what she just said. Sister, where can people go to get more information about you and your campaign?
They can go to, we have a Facebook presence, Martina Kunnecke for mayor. We also have a website of the same title. If you go to those two places, you'll be able to get our phone number, our email addresses. That's the way you can connect with us. And even if folks disagree with me on anything, I'm not adverse to, Mr. Sievers, you and I could probably go on to another topic and just disagree vehemently
Yes.
about a lot of things. But I think there's certain basic elements that the community, there's widespread agreement about how is our money being spent. That, if nothing else, is worth discussion. So I urge people to reach out to us and give us a hearing.
That's the perfect way to end this interview. Thank you so much, sister. I really appreciate it. And again, I just want to urge my listeners, listen. Of course, like my podcast and I'll share my podcast, but definitely share this interview with as many people as you can and urge them to share with some other folks too. Sister, I'll be in touch, okay?
Okay, absolutely. Thank you so much for the opportunity.